No, and we're recording.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. I'm delighted to be here with you today just to have a look at resilience. It's my topic, and I hope you're going to hear something that will make a difference. I think at the moment, people can be going through quite a challenging time. It's not an easy time, but I'm very aware, even as I say that two people could be responding in two different ways to the situation at the moment. And it may be a case of that you may be actually coping fairly well, and perhaps I may be struggling. And what I want to look at, because really, if we think about resilience, what is it except the ability to bounce back from adversity? Because life is tough. I think we forget that sometimes. And it's almost like, I remember somebody said once, it's almost like, a stormy sea, that sometimes you're on the crest of a wave and everything is fantastic. Another time you're right in the trough, but you know that there's another crest coming along. So that really it's probably more about learning to surf the waves of change, recognizing that it's not always easy and it's not always difficult. So it's much more about our ability, I suppose, to roll with things and to, as I say, surf the waves of change. And it's also how, when I think about resilience, I think about that the three C's of resilience are, and it's very timely at the moment for us, that we have to accept what we can't change. Sometimes challenging times come, but really fighting against them and blaming and complaining, it's just not going to make a difference, except to put me in a negative mindset. But it's probably more about actually, well, I have to accept what I can't control, but I also have to control what I can. So at the moment on my kitchen fridge, I have three little pointers as a reminder for me and my family. And point number one is acknowledge the feeling. And what is the feeling for many of us at the moment? To say, you know what, this is tough. It's tough. But point number two is this: I can choose to respond well. I can choose to respond well. So am I going to sink or am I going to swim? So if I choose to swim, well, then I have to ask myself, well, then can I see it as it is? See it not worse than it is, and then make it better than I see it. In other words, that sometimes we just have to roll up our sleeves and get on with it, knowing that the darkest hour comes from before the dawn. But key to resilience, as far as I'm concerned, is about self-care. And yet, having done thousands of talks on resilience at this stage, I do find and recognize that we're not always good at doing the self-care we need. Self-care is very straightforward. It's, if you, it really comes down to how you relate to yourself. Do you feel you're worthy of care? What kind of food do you put into your body? Basically, how good are you if you're tired at prioritizing an early night? Are you the kind of person that says, I don't have time for a walk? Or are you the kind of person that might say, but I need to make the time. I need to make the time because I know that the walk is good for me. And even if I step outside the door and with my tracksuit and my runners on and count to 30, I can come back in. But maybe I'm more likely to continue on after that. And finally, the last part of self-care is about relaxation. So I suppose the questions I'd ask is, how good are you taking care of yourself? And if, like me, you haven't been good, maybe does that go back a long way? Does that go back a long way? Because what I have learned over the last number of years is that when I treat myself better than I think I deserve, I tend to be better at protecting my time. I tend to be better at giving myself time. I tend to be better at prioritizing my well-being. And it's been a long journey to get there. I couldn't possibly go into it, in all its detail. But I believe these messages come from our early years, from the messages that we pick up. Many people that I work with, and I include myself in some of this, maybe the message they picked up was, you don't matter. You don't deserve. And you're not good enough. Well, if you picked a message of, you're not good enough. I just spoke to somebody a moment ago, just came off a webinar, who told me that he's on his emails from 7 in the morning until late at night. Why? Because when you do that, you're sacrificing yourself. You're not taking care of yourself. You're not prioritizing your own well-being. And actually, we're not even working very well, because what we know is that happy people are productive people, people that go in and work in a focused manner, and people that then, after that, finish up setting a time to leave work by and get the recovery they need. So really, it's much more about our ability to focus our attention, muting all distractions if possible, and to do the one thing that's going to give us disproportionate results. And then taking a break, and then taking care of yourself with maybe a coffee if it's mid-morning, or maybe an alarm on your laptop to signal it's lunchtime. Go and eat some food that'll make you thrive. And actually get some fresh air that would clear your head, that would increase your productivity for the afternoon. And then switch off at the right, set a time. Another alarm would be no harm. In other words, what I guess I'm talking about is setting boundaries around work, boundaries around time for yourself, boundaries around time with the partner, whether even in these difficult times, it's maybe taking a bit of food at the table, or preparing a special meal, lighting a few candles, putting down a tablecloth. I remember doing that when my kids were very young. We had no babysitter. Do what lights you up. What lights you up? There's a question to ask. And what would it be like for you to schedule that into your diary? That's been my learning, that if I don't put something in the diary, it's not going to happen. And if we want to feel better about ourselves, we have to start treating ourselves better than we think that we deserve. We have to, on a daily basis, put in 2 or 3 things that are nice. So whether that's a cup of coffee, with a friend, virtually or not virtually, whether it's a walk, getting out in nature. What we're realizing more and more is that the light is incredibly important in terms of how it makes us feel. So getting out early in the day and getting some of that daylight into our system has a big impact on our mood and sleep. Sleep is central to emotional well-being. I wish I had known it, I suppose, years earlier, when I probably was cranky, irritable, and impatient. But a lot of the time that might have been because I was tired. I was just tired. And I wasn't prioritizing myself and scheduling an early night. Or maybe even having a bath when the world was unkind to me. And communicating my boundary around that. I'm taking some time for myself and I'm asking not to be disturbed. I guess in essence, what I'm trying to say to everybody is this. It's your life. So you need to decide, how do you feel? And what do you need? And not push that responsibility onto somebody else, but meet your own needs. And also to ask yourself, what am I thinking? And so much of the time, our thinking is catastrophic thinking, anxiety, worry, concern. But it's not actually about something that's happening right now. Maybe right now, things are not great, but relatively okay. but we tend to focus on future disasters, and we have a perspective that isn't working for us. And it's the degree to which we can start to mind our mind and become aware, almost step back from our thinking. I have to be honest, I struggle with this myself. But something that I have been learning to do over these past months that have been challenging for all of us is that when I follow my breath, I can't continue that catastrophic thinking, anxiety, worry, the what ifs. So following your breath is almost just follow your breath with your attention. Following your breath with your attention, it keeps your attention and it cuts the link with this, negative scenario that's playing out in your mind. So I hope I'm giving you some ideas, some things that you could do. But certainly, if you're feeling fed up at the moment, what can you do is the question I would ask. What is possible? Because so much of the time we're not really seeing it as it is. We're seeing it worse than it is. And that's because we're always wired and primed for, just disaster that may be looming. But it's really to challenge that thinking and almost ask ourselves the question, what is the story that I'm telling myself? Oh, that everything's going to fall apart. And to step back from that, step back from our thinking, and to not engage with that catastrophic thinking. In women, it's called rumination. And it's not good for us. And it's the road into depression. And we need to do what men do, which is distract ourselves when we find that we're doing this, what I call hover thinking. So distract yourself by doing something that absorbs you, whether it's cooking a nice meal or doing a bit of baking or tending the garden. Do you know that over these last number of months, time and time again, when I've asked people, can you think of a setback you've had and what have you done that was helpful? It's quite extraordinary because I can almost fit what comes back under 3 different categories. And here they are. Air, getting out in the fresh air with the dog, meeting people, having the exercise, getting a clearer head, getting a new perspective. Water. Now, I'm a sea swimmer, and I know a lot more of you are sea swimming, and we're coming into the winter, so that's not easy. But if you can get into water, I can't explain except to say that whatever I'm carrying, the stress, tension, it's incredible. It really is good. Could be a pool swim, even a bath. And soil, interestingly enough, tending a garden is something that absorbs us. So everything around what I'm talking about here is the degree to which we can almost get in the flow and lose ourselves in something that lights us up. A lady said to me just the other day, she said, I suffer with anxiety and 2 things help. 1, exercise, and 2, I bake. And when I asked her about the baking, she said, it just totally absorbs me. Well, that's called flow. Anything that you do where you lose time, where you're at one with the music, for me, it's gardening actually, is something that you need to bring more of into your life. And the reason for that is because it's just really good for you. It absorbs you and it moves you out of that thinking that isn't actually working for you. But probably the most important thing that I'm going to advise as a way of getting through a difficult time is this: to stay connected, which at the moment isn't easy. And I'm very aware of that. But however you do it, stay connected, even if it's virtually. Why? Because it's simple. The problem shared is the problem halved. No matter what problems that you're working under, your ability to reach out and speak about it, suddenly it lightens you. You may get a new perspective. You certainly will get support around it. And you may get somebody else's trust and belief in your ability to manage it well. And you might start problem solving as a result of that. But most of all, it lessens the hold it has on you. So staying connected is critical for emotional well-being. And when I say stay connected, of course, I mean stay connected and talk about how you feel. And that's in emotional well-being, and I want to just mention it. Emotional well-being is ask yourself this question every day: how do I feel? And however you feel, you might say, I feel stressed. Well, what would be helpful? And it could be the walk. It could be work less, set boundaries around the day, claim back your commute time. There has been a huge blurring of the boundaries as a result of this time that we're living in. But it is your life, and it is your responsibility to take back control of your life. So if you're stressed, you just need to play more. If it is that perhaps you are anxious or worried, maybe using the working with your breath, feeling your feet on the floor, grounding yourself and centering yourself and just being still. And it may be that something comes up when you get still. Key to emotional well-being is the ability to express the appropriate emotion at the appropriate time. So there are times when we need to shed a few tears. There's times when we can be angry and we may need to rant, and we can do that through writing it out or speaking to somebody, but not taking something out on anybody else. But mainly, what I guess I want to say is that I believe that if we get better at taking care of ourselves, we're going to be calmer. And when we come into a relationship with other people calmer, then we calm them down. And then they experience, me differently, you differently, to which then their difficult behaviors start to reduce. So interestingly, it's not about trying to change anybody. It's really about changing yourself. And when you're different, they will respond differently. But behavior follows behavior. So if I'm the one that's stressed, I'm going to stress out other people. So self-care is what keeps me calm, using my breath, stepping back when I need to just soothe myself or calm myself down, keeping my healthy habits, the diet, the sleep, the exercise, and the relaxation, not forgetting the importance of a bit of laughter, dance around the kitchen, express your emotions, talk about how you feel, but mostly keeping perspective, seeing the good and the bad, having a realistic optimism, and recognizing that you're doing your best just like everybody else. And that's all you can do. And I want to finish on this, that what I'm hearing in all the webinars I'm doing at the moment is that people really need to mind their mind. They really need to become aware of their thinking and to distract themselves out of some of this rumination and to absorb themselves through doing something that they love. As I said earlier, something that lights you up. People need to really take better care of themselves. Put yourself on the to-do list. Block some time in your calendar for yourself. Do things that sustain you. If I asked you, how do you switch off from work? What would the answer to that be? So it's very much around taking back control of your life and recognizing that you need to get the recovery that you need in order to go back in tomorrow to do a good day's work. So I hope you've taken something away. All I would ask is, this is the time for us to be very, very kind to ourselves and to be kind to others. Because when you experience a challenging behavior, you're probably going to think they're trying to make my life difficult. And I would say, wrong. They're trying to show you how difficult life is for them. They're trying to show you how difficult life is for them. So compassion is the number one response to challenging behavior. It's what you need when you're upset. So why would it be any different for them? So be kinder to yourself, ease up on yourself, give yourself a break, have lower expectations, more realistic expectations. We're so hard on ourselves. Nothing good comes of it. And be accepting of yourself that you've done your best and that's all you can do. So I'm Sheila O'Malley. My website is sheilaomalley.ie. And I also have a parenting website, practicalparenting.ie, with over 40 parenting video clips. So there's a YouTube channel there for you to log on to, because parenting at the moment it's tough for parents. So I hope you've heard something, found something. But I just want to finish and say you are deserving of care and time and attention. Nobody deserves it more. So make the time, take the time, block the time, schedule the time. Thank you.